You want to be successful? Then you want to learn how to really understand the elements of design, the execution, and the creative process first.
Welcome to the Damn Good Designer podcast. Join hosts Cheryl and Liz, the visionary and integrator balancing all the moving parts of a full-service interior design firm. Get ready for a wild ride as they challenge the norms, challenge the industry, and challenge you with damn good truths about what success looks like today. Now your hosts.
Welcome everyone. Liz is here with me and we are ready to dig into another topic that is near and dear to my heart. But before we go rogue in this episode, Liz, tell us what jazzed you about last week. I think we ought to share a little bit, do a little more repartee before we dig into these heavy topics.
I'm happy that we got some big milestones on some projects nailed down on time last week. That felt like a really big treat to be able to stop stressing about some of those things. So
yeah,
I'm
that's
thrilled.
True. And it was nice to see one installed.
Yeah, we got some countertops in. We got some very, very big windows in on a project happening down in the bayou. So things are good.
Oh, yeah, that was amazing. This is a mid-century, like a true mid-century home, y'all, that is absolutely stunning. And I mean, it has a lot of original woodwork. It is Frank Lloyd Wright-ish, except that Frank Lloyd Wright didn't design it. But it is a really, really cool building, and it's on a beautiful piece of property. And they had one of those, the original window that was fused on the sides, which is not great in hurricane world, if you know what I mean. And then it got cracked. So then they had to go through, I mean, this has probably taken almost 2 years, don't you think, Liz, that to get this approved and everything else. And thank God the contractor's dealing with all that. But I went over there when they were installing it. Libby and I popped over, and really, my heart couldn't handle it. I mean, this is really two-story glass.
Very big window.
Very big window, and it has sides to it too. And then there's also, and y'all have to look at pictures of it when we post them, but there's also an indoor-outdoor koi pond that is really super cool. I mean, it has a lot of really good features and all that. So anyway, but yeah, I forgot about that. I was sitting here thinking, like, I hope Liz can say something about that jazzed her last week, because I'm having a hard time thinking about like what yesterday was even all about other than our TDP meeting.
I know. I feel like October hits and it's just a matter of like trying to figure out what are we going to be able to wrap up before the end of the year. So it feels really good to know we're going to have some people back in their spaces. And
yeah, isn't that the truth? And people complain about the Christmas coming early or holidays or whatever, you're doing all that before people get their pumpkin spice latte or whatever, which I think, for the record, is just so gross. But anyway, we're sitting here thinking like now January, we talk about like rushing the end of the year, because that's what happens, and all of you that listening are probably in the same way, where you're trying to wrap things up before the end of the year or get things on the books for January, et cetera, et cetera. So it does, we do sort of project out in the future quite a bit. And sometimes that is not as fun as just sort of enjoying the moment. But that's what we're going to do, Liz. We're going to talk about enjoying the moment on our jobs and things that are going on. That'll be our new thing we do right before we dig in. So let's go ahead and dig in to this topic. And this is all about this sort of magical charging what you're worth commentary rhetoric that people are talking about. And I hope this doesn't upset half of the design community, but I'm having a feeling that some of our podcasts, maybe people are listening just because they want to hear, what does she say this time? But hold on a second before you kick me to the curb and let me explain this a little bit better. And this is a major beef with people who use the very tired phrase, this phraseology of charging what you are worth. It's sort of just, I don't know, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. I think most of the time that you see this when people are trying to get you to sign up for their launch 769 or whatever, but I didn't say that out loud. But even designers in Facebook groups and that sort of thing, and when they're trying to counsel each other, will say things like that too. And I always wonder, like, let's pull a Captain Obvious. Anyone in any consulting field should charge what they are worth, right? Okay, I'm on board with that. But what exactly does that mean? I mean, I'm worth $10 million most days. Today, I'm worth about $2 million. I'm not feeling really $10 million today. But, I have a hard time writing that in a scope of work. And I think Liz would probably shoot me if I tried to write that in a scope of work. And it's definitely not what we get paid. Okay, we get paid a lot, but we don't get paid that. And so my issue with this kind of rhetoric, really being serious here is actually determining what that word means, worth. It's very subjective. The focus is too much on sometimes the kumbaya, feel-good aspect of telling you what you want to hear. And that's not really my role here, is to tell you what you want to hear. That the more important idea of how to determine your value is being lost. Because charging what you think you are worth is really not the way you set pricing for any freaking business, is it?
I know, it's way too nebulous. And it's like art appreciation or design appreciation or anyone's subjective point of view about what is good or what is not good. To be able to even talk about how much you're going to charge or what you're worth, you have to have some context for what type of service, what's associated with this, what are you actually doing for someone to actually earn that?
And how good are you about it?
That too.
And I don't understand how this helps anyone set their fees. So really, basically, it's just a waste of time reading this, other than the rah rah sis boom bah kind of thing. But I'm very action oriented. I don't really like a lot of rhetoric. I like the little, words that kind of motivate you and things like that to get going. But something like this is important. And I don't think this is relating to understanding what someone's real value is. And I think that also that people get sidetracked by this and get into this mindset that they're going to draw conclusions based on their desire for what reality should be, and not necessarily upon what reality actually is for that particular designer. Or perhaps you're constantly worrying about your worth more, and this is a key thing, than you are to worrying about how to earn it or how you are projecting yourself and your brand out into the marketplace. This is what I am terming the magical thinking. And it's not based on what you really need to know in order to determine pricing. In other words, there must be a value proposition before you work on setting fees and your, air quotes here, worth. Is this logical to anyone else? Is it logical to you, Liz? Or am I really just going down a rabbit hole here?
No, I think I feel like I could probably cull about, a few hundred Facebook posts you've shared in our email about people asking, what should I charge for this? What should I charge for that? People not knowing how to charge, but then also being so sort of emboldened to assume that they deserve to make a certain amount of money simply because they showed up for work on Monday. And it just doesn't quite work like that. There's so much more that goes into
That's kind of an epidemic, though, across the country in some ways, but I digress.
But there's so much more that goes into it. And, we talk a lot about this in the different facets of the type of work that we do and how and why we charge in different ways. But to not have a good handle on why it is that you're doing that, it seems like if you can't identify that as a business owner, then you probably shouldn't be selling your services.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm not going to hang my hat on some magical number pulled out of my butt. I'm just not. That is not the way I run a business. I'm much more logical than that. And I don't understand where newer designers get this value determination either, because what are they determining it on? Or even someone who's changing lanes and changing careers or adding new services and that sort of thing. Some people come out of school, and we've had this happen to us plenty of times when we've interviewed people and hired people over the last 23 years, or they come out of another career and they immediately start charging $175 an hour with little to nothing to back this up. And then wonder why they cannot find clients, or why they're being shopped, or having issues with subs, or any of the number of other problems presented in the messages and the posts and the market conversations and the discussions and the podcasts and, all of that sort of thing. If you can command that kind of pricing out of the gate, more power to you. But can you sustain it is the question. And I think there is not just enough experience to do so when you're at that level. And I feel badly, really badly, for designers who are encouraged to do this rah-rah sis boom bah thing about charging more than they should be charging at that point. And then they lose out on these really good opportunities to grow within the field. And that really bothers me.
Yeah, I think too, and we've had many, many instances where we're working with different designers in different capacities in your coaching program and in TDP and everything, where they have all these questions, they present these scopes to people, and there's just no context for where these numbers are coming from. I can remember, this is way back, this is right shortly after I started, really, probably. Our proposal setup was totally different than it is now, but every time we got to this point of having to put things together for a new client, a new prospect, it was always this like belabored thing. We both hated it. It was terrible for both of us. And it took some time, and all of a sudden this light bulb to go off, where Cheryl finally was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm going to get this structured and figure it out. And beyond just to ascertain what it is that we're going to be able to deliver for a client, but really be able to value what it is that we're doing, what type of service it is we're offering when we're going full service with a client, because it makes a huge difference and is totally different than, you know, going out for a window treatment consult or a paint consult or something like that. But being able to define it specifically and with a lot of detail so that you can feel super confident about how it is that you should be positioning it. Because we're all worth something, of course. We're not saying that people don't deserve to be paid for their work, but having context for that is so critical.
Yes, but you're really talking here about the structure of how to determine that fee, not really about the value. And what I'm really talking about is determining your value. And I've been around a long time, so the value has been determined. The value is portrayed all the time in everything that we do, and always has been. Well, not always has been. I mean, don't talk to me about the first 5 years. But what you're talking about, Liz, really is the structure of how we're doing it and how we're doing a flat fee and a minimum expenditure, because I like to sleep at night, you know, that sort of thing. And that's important too. And that's part of this whole conversation. But you know, we only have half an hour. So but what I'm really talking about here, the thing that really is, bothering me is what, people have to actually do to be able to gain the experience they need to elevate their value proposition. It's not just about structuring it and putting it out there. That's important too. But if anyone follows Gary Vee, for example, he preaches doing the work, being prepared to work harder and longer than you ever have before. That is, if you really want to, as he calls it, crush it, and this is no walk in the park in this industry, or everyone would be doing it for the love of Pete. So it is a little audacious, I think, sometimes to roll out of bed and decide that you're charging $175 an hour. And again, let me make no mistake, if you can get away with that, more power to you. Come see me, talk to me about that. But what I see more often than not is not that happening. Is what happens is people set those expectations because they're trying to live up to these this charge what you're worth sort of magical thinking, and they're actually neglecting determining and providing real value to those they want to influence on the clients, So the structure is important for sure. I mean, and how you structure it and how you put all that together is really important. But really, we wouldn't have those people to even give a scope of work or a proposal to if we weren't doing the other things. And I think that new designers, and I'm talking about all designers here, but new designers really specifically, because I see this a lot more, they're told over and over again, and you've seen these messages that I've screenshot and sent to you, Liz, to walk away from jobs that maybe are not perfect or are not delivering quite what they think they are worth. And why? Because a client is texting them after hours. The client has questions on the contract. This well-meaning advice is sometimes overwhelmingly things like, walk away, run, red flag, run, Forrest, run. This is the kind of thing you see over and over again. I mean, really, if for the love of God, just try to come up with something new at least, or a new emoji, or a new, whatever those mean things are, or whatever. Running, you're running all right. But you're running from the actual real world experience. It is going to make you a better designer and a better business owner.
Right. We were just working on a sort of a case study on a project we wrapped up, and it was a lead that, in all sort of states, we would either think maybe it's not the best thing in the world, but ultimately it was a great project for us. It fit into the overall sort of calendar that we needed it to. And I think that it's a good example of where really being able to define how it is that you can contribute something valuable to a client becomes the bigger point of view in terms of assessing whether or not you're going to move forward. And I think that you're such every job that we get, you want to land. You want to figure out a way for us to be able to
I'm a salesperson, let's face it. Yeah,
right.
I'm a salesperson, let's face it.
But I think that in a lot of the analysis of that, we have talked about how it is that people can figure out why they're going to charge what they're going to charge. And just like you said before, determining are these things really red flags? is there really a problem with this person or with this client, or are we just seeing something that is really could be overcome by a process type detail or whatever? I think there's so much value in being able to be more fair about your assessment and to really be honest about what it is you're offering before you go into that whole process of deciding if someone's a big winner or if they're not going to be a good client for you.
Yeah, really. And the whole red flag thing is a completely different, podcast that people that know me are probably expecting that any day now, but I'm going to fool you and I'm not going to do that for a while. But because I don't like the terminology red flag, I've banned it from my group, Small Business Think Big, do not say, red flag, whatever. I don't like it. I just don't think it's productive, really. But this determination to succeed regardless of obstacles is not predicated only on taking the sweet spot projects. And you know that, and that's the project that you're talking about right now that we just did the case study for the design paradigm. And really, this is a block home. It's $200,000 maybe in 2018, 2019. It's like an up and coming neighborhood. When we drove up, I was like, "Oh, Liz, what are you getting us into here?" And we have turned to change that around. Now, is this on par with the Bayou property that we're doing and that particular job? The clients certainly are. They're both, in my mind, what I call a luxury client in the sense of their personality and how they treat the process and how they trust the process. But they're not. It's not the kind of job that is going to be, on the cover of, Elle Decor. Okay, let's just face this. It is a block home. But what we were able to do there is a completely different thing. The value that we were able to bring is completely different. And so this client, was willing to pay, for that value. Okay, if I'd gone in there just like, I'm worth all this, and whatever, and, maybe your house isn't worth as much as my fees or what have you, it's just not the way to look at it, in my opinion. I think sometimes this well-meaning advice, if it is all that well-meaning, I think it's just, parroting of what people hear and what's out there.
Right, it's just everyone following the same dynamic.
Right, exactly. The sort of, the lemming thing, and the coaches saying this and everything really gets under my skin, when that happens. But are these same people espousing this charge what you are worth word salad, are they actually walking the talk or not? It's a whole lot of smoke and mirrors out there, and a lot of people just like to comment on Facebook and say things. And when they say that, it's just, I understand that they're trying to lift somebody up. I get that part, okay? And that's great and wonderful. But if I'm going to take the time to comment, I want to take the time to comment about something that is actually more important. But it's really not about the people in the groups that are talking. It's more about like every single coach in every single industry. It's not just ours, it's everywhere that is sort of the thing for any type of consulting businesses. And don't get me wrong, we can definitely sell ourselves short. All of us can. But the focus should be on developing your A game and being able to do whatever it takes to get there and learn every stinking thing you can. That's what's going to add to your value. Okay, so I guess maybe it's Cheryl and her words, that it's the value is so much more important. And then the second comment to that or question to that is, so what is your value? And when you can establish that, then you have the chops to be of value to a client and get paid what you should be paid.
I think that a lot of that foundation too that you are constantly talking about with people when it comes to deciding how it is that they're going to grow their business or how it is that they're going to figure out what's next, it all comes from the same stem. And a lot of that is really determining, are you offering what you say you're offering? Are you providing the type of service that is being asked for by your client? Are you listening to them? There's so many really basic things that can lead someone who is very new in this industry to believe that they should be getting paid, beaucoup bucks for showing up on Monday and working a full day. And, it's, so difficult and so stressful and so this and so that. But being able to grow into the role that you build and really be able to foster those relationships with clients, that's how you start to gain, I think, the type of support and the type of name brand that you're going to want to have in your community. But also that's where that value comes from. That's where people start to understand, this is why she's worth that. It has nothing to do with the dollar bills.
Right.
It's what's contributed in the process, what's taken away even from the consult meetings. I mean, how many times have we gone out and people are that intellectual property and that value and excitement, you don't have to be doing the design when you're out there meeting with someone for the first time. You're just giving them a sense of who you are. And that alone is such a huge value to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we charge $550 to $650 for initial consult. And we're a little town, y'all. So if we can do it, other people can do it too. But we don't get questioned on the value that we're bringing. And we're not doing any design work. I mean, we're really not. And I think that the important thing is to like maybe let's call it an earned price. Okay, it's an earned price. This earned price is predicated on being a creative problem solver that makes the magic happen. So how do you do this? Well, we've got a half an hour show, so we can't go into every little detail, but you need to first assess your services and your experience. Okay, study the market, including the demand for what you can deliver, for what your type of secret sauce is. What's the demand there? I mean, you're going to do that in any business, right? Choosing a pricing structure that reflects the combination of that skill set, that experience, and then what your market can bear. That's you don't mean lowball. I'm not talking about that. But don't price yourself out of the market and out of the opportunity to learn. Because, I will tell you, we put a priority on what I call other currency. And other currency is what you are getting, okay, and not exposure or whatever, those kinds of things, that people talk about from, doing something sponsored on an Instagram post or whatever. I'm talking about other currency, meaning what are we going to learn? What kind of value are we going to add to our firm that we can then turn around and add? So for example, years ago, we've done several historic homes, but there was a really cool one that we hadn't done before, and it was really plans only. And at the time, we really weren't taking a lot of those types of jobs. You remember this one, Liz, the Queen Anne house over in North Hill. And, Liz and I looked at each other and we said, we can get a lot out of this. There's a lot of other currency here. I mean, we still made $7,500 or so on that particular project for redoing parts of it. It wasn't a complete full redesign. It wasn't furniture. It wasn't materials or any of that. This was just planned. So, it was still, definitely worth it. But we made a conscious decision. If you think back to that, Liz, we made a conscious decision to really go in and have this extra currency, this additional currency, and say this job is worth it to us. And I think that you can do that even at my skill level and our how long we've been in business. We're still going to do that if it's something that adds to the value of my firm and what my firm can offer. So I think sometimes when people are short-sighted, let's say, when they don't take a job because they're perceiving it not to be what they're worth. And I'm not saying, the low ball or whatever. I'm not talking about going out and working for peanuts or whatever. That is not the point. The point is just don't price yourself out of the market because you get sucked into this, rah, charge what you're worth kind of thing. And everyone says to you in a Facebook post, oh, you're only charging $100 an hour? Oh my God, you should be at least charging $150 or whatever. I don't like that, and I think the more talented and more experienced the offering, the higher the value and the price. I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's logical, right?
Right. And I think that feedback doesn't really foster the type of mentality. I mean, it's just like anything else. It's like when you keep perpetuating the same bad habit, that's the bad habit that everyone aspires to. And it's just not a great way to think about it. Whereas if people were more conscientious about the fact that it's so much more in depth than that, I mean, we've considered projects and taken on projects that are, historic homes that are really interesting properties. We had one client, I remember he came in and he wanted to meet us in person before we met for the consult, who wanted a very, very traditional overall design. And he was adamant about it. And he had worked on these plans and had a lot of feelings about this and that. But we consider all of those type of things because it might be a new challenge for us.
He was a turd, Liz.
I know. I wanted that job mostly because I wanted to have to do.
I did not want that
those
job.
Window treatments.
Yeah, it was a beautiful home, I will say that. But also when he comes in and starts talking about, well, I can go to America's Mart and, get all this, whatever. That's just like, I don't think you're our ideal client.
I know.
But really it was his attitude more than anything. But you're right. We talked about it because we don't do a lot of uber traditional, and it was uber traditional, and he really needed some help. But he was just, I don't know. I'm getting to the point where I don't really want to work with people I don't want to work with, in general. I
think
I may be working at Whataburger next week if I can't make payroll or something.
I don't know about that. I think you'll be okay. But I think that, even when some of the smaller projects come along, we were just talking about a lead that came in last week that's like a really basic laundry room and then a little furnishings gig. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to spend, all of our firm's effort and all of that towards trying to land this job if we've got a million other things going on. But if we have room in our schedule and it's an opportunity for someone on our team to learn and someone on our team maybe to be managing or to be in more of a leadership role that they haven't had a chance to fill yet, there are other ways that we can grow and that our team can grow by using that job and that opportunity. The money may not be something that's going to last us the whole year, of course, but if it's enough to make sense, those are the type of things that you really have to consider. It's not just all about having the perfect clients who, are swanky and do this and that and always have, all of the fancy perspectives. That's definitely not the way to grow a business, at least. I mean, again, just like you said, you might be able to hold it out for a little while, but eventually that kind of thing is going to catch up with you.
That's exactly right. And just like you were talking about with the job that was the block home with the client that we adore and all of that, I wasn't sure if she was going to accept that fee. And that was probably the fastest turnaround we ever got, because this is all knee deep in my mind, y'all, because we did an expose case study on this job, from the lead coming in with all the emails and everything else, everything that we did, the challenges, the solutions, how we solved them, all the way to the end and the photographs. We did a case study on this for the design paradigm. And honestly, it was just, it's the kind of job that I was like looking at Liz going, Liz, I know you're a good salesperson. You got this initial consult, but really what are we doing here? Is this going to be somebody that is going to be able to afford where we are right now in our services? So we tried to have a product for everybody that calls, because we get leads every day. But in this particular case, this client wanted what this client wanted, and she valued what we brought to the table because we were able to establish that with her. And it was a puzzle, and we're passionate about the puzzle. There is nothing, I don't like real puzzles. Jigsaw puzzles, they make me crazy. But I love the puzzle of figuring out the plans and the schematic. That's really my sweet spot. That is something I really like. And if the job is very puzzling, then I'm your girl. I want to figure that out. And we do a lot of work with that, even around the country with plan review. But I think that also it being passionate about the puzzle and figuring it out, even if it's a job that you may not think that you're going to make as good. We did quite well on that particular project in terms of overall profitability, and we love the client. And that's worth some dollar bills in my bank too, because I've been around for a long time and I don't want to work with people I don't like. I don't want to work with turds. Okay. I just don't want to work with turds. I want to work with people that I really like, that trust the process, that like us and all of that. I hope we don't get a bad rating for saying turd. Anyway, the thing about that I want to talk about with this puzzle, this attitude, is that it actually inspires you to want to problem solve and a collaboration on top of the creative mojo. So this is like a win-win for you and the client, because I think it's sort of I'm not sure what a good term is, but sort of like throwing fuel on the fire, but the fire of creativity, right? Is that what I'm,
absolutely. It's that kind of chemistry that can come together. Absolutely.
Right. And to me, that's our value proposition in a nutshell, is sort of that passion and that wanting to solve the puzzle. We even talk about on our website, that's,
for sure.
We're problem solvers, but also puzzle solvers.
And on our social media, I mean, we've got lots of different things that are going on day to day in our shop and with the firm and with all the other facets of the kind of little branches and fun stuff that we've been doing lately with events. And those are all things that people want to engage in our community. They get excited about knowing that we have stuff going on.
Part of our value. Part of our value is that community liaison when people see you out in your community. That's part of your value also. Maybe not in the charge what you're worth, method, but that's part of your value also.
Right. And in establishing those relationships, I think that experience level that we want people to have with us is ingrained across the board because we like to have a good time. We like to work with clients who are fun. We like to be able to enjoy having meetings with people and getting them excited about their home. And ultimately, as a team, we like to have that dynamic of working through things and solving big challenges and all those details. Those are the things that we want to talk about. We want to sell to people, and we want to have them really understand that this is the type of team that you're working with. You're not working with someone who is going to come in and use the same paint colors and use the same style of this and the same style of that because, it's what's easy and what they can sell quickly. It's just not our MO.
Right, exactly. And I think, if you really want to distill it down, is this learning to think creatively, inspiring one's own design aesthetics. It's like, again, whatever it does for you. For me, it's solving the puzzle, but for you, it might be something different that is throwing that. There's probably a better analogy, but I can't think of one. But throwing that fuel that makes the fire, burn brighter, being knowledgeable about construction processes and being insanely driven by the passion to discover those pieces to the puzzle or whatever it may be for you. But that is what's making you valuable, and that's what's making you a damn good designer. And I'll tell you, I love a good systems-based approach all day long. I mean, Liz can testify to that because she's not always as system-based as I am, but I love a good systems-based approach. But let's just be real for a minute. That should serve to corral the creative in you. Okay, that shouldn't drive your business. That is serving to corral the creative in you, and it doesn't replace developing your creative mojo. I worry with all the processes and the third-party automations and the all this business, this going out and having your client have to go through all these hoops to get to you, to even talk to you. I mean, we still have people call us, we call them back. I mean, I'm not going to funnel them through some automated thing so that they don't feel like we're real people. Now, I understand with solopreneurs, a lot of times you have to do that. But I think that, that there's a potential that you can get over, automated. And I think that with all these kinds of processes and third-party, gizmos and all the things that have proliferated in the design industry in the last few years, we might be losing what makes design truly awesome. And then we kind of all sort of collectively can lose a little bit of value.
Mm-hmm. And I think just like anything, just like we were talking about before, that association that prospective clients have with what it is that you offer and how you offer it, there is so much to be built upon when it comes to personality and ethics and how you run your business and the experience that you create for someone, as opposed to it being a quick one and done. And that's where the authentic reviews come in. That's where you're going to get the best portfolio images. A lot of that really has to do with being more authentic about what it is that you're offering. And that is going to transpire to clients being happy, wanting to have you back for other projects and wanting to talk about you to their friends. And
which adds to your value. Which again, all those things add to your value, which adds to your fees, et cetera, et cetera. Go ahead, Liz.
Right. Just how many times have we gotten called? I mean, even the client with the blockhouse that we keep talking about, she wants stuff for her living room and stuff for her office. And, she's not done. We're done with the project. She's moved back in, but there's still so much to her wanting that space to feel perfect across the board. And those are the type of things that you can't necessarily predict right off the bat. But if you take good care of people and you build on good foundation in how you're dealing with the way that your fee structure and your sort of firm is operating with your clients, those are going to be the things that help you garner the bigger fees, that are going to help you grow in the direction that you want to be able to not only accommodate bigger projects and feel really confident in that, but to be able to say, I am worth every penny of what I'm charging.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think the sort of the nutshell here, the nugget here is really don't be so quick to turn away opportunities to grow as a designer, especially if it's you're a designer who's been around for a long time, but you're doing something new. If you have a team that you can allow them to grow on some of the smaller jobs, or the jobs perhaps that don't meet all your 110 criteria for being a great project or whatever. It's definitely something that we consider quite a bit. We certainly are not going to be not profitable, because I am insanely profitable. And this has been, last year was our best year ever. This year has already surpassed last year. So it's not that I'm not focused on profit, because we all know Cheryl is all about the profit. But I think that what I don't like to see is people that are being shortchanged because of some of the rhetoric that is prevalent in the coaching industry, and not just ours, but across the board, and thinking, well, I can't take this project on because this isn't a good project for me. Make it a good project. Get other currency out of it. Certainly you need to pay your bills. Certainly you need to be profitable. That is not what I'm here to say at all. I think it's more just fighting against the mindset. And for us, we want to be of service to people if we can be. So we're going to try to make it work if we can, but we don't accept every project. I mean, hardly we will do this. And I think this may be shocking and maybe even unpopular amongst some designers and decorators, what I'm talking about right now. But I think it needs to be said. I really do. And I'm saying this with all the love in my heart for this industry. And if you know me at all, you know how much I love small businesses. I think small businesses are the backbone of our country. And I absolutely 100% am pro small business all day long. It is not only my job, it's my hobby too. But you're not going to hear me saying, charge what you are worth, until the creative problem-solving visionary mechanics are firmly rooted into place. And that takes experience. And it takes doing different kinds of work. And those work sometimes are stepping stones to the bigger projects. That's what I'm trying to tell you here. And that's what our clients are paying us for, is this creative problem solving, the creative vision, all of that. Otherwise they can go to the Sally Sue Shops for You or the Mindy Mood Board Express or whatever the heck, to deliver what the masses may think is good design, but really is just regurgitated Instagram, blah, 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 And I told you this was a hot button, Liz.
Well, I mean, and how authentic really can you be when that's the type of service that you're offering? I mean, especially if you're trying to grow, that's not going to be the kind of thing that gets you any sort of real clout in the people that you're working with, or in terms of how your portfolio looks. You're not going to find that type of opportunity there. I think that when we talk a lot about the different sort of facets of developing what that value is, it's not just about being able to identify a really great service, but it's also just your authenticity to acknowledge that you do have to earn it. There's a lot that goes into this type of work. And as much as we would all love to be getting paid more and would all love to be getting all huge jobs where the fees are gigantic, it's just not going to be that way. That's not how it's going to operate for most people. And you have to be able to kind of embrace that and roll with the punches. That's something that you've always been so sort of true to, Cheryl, is really figuring out, if we have room in our calendar, we can accommodate something. Let's try to figure out a way to make it work. If we need a training opportunity for someone, and this could really help this client out, let's try to figure out a way that we can structure this, because we do offer a really great service to people, and the value is there time and time again, every time that we do it.
Right. And every time we learn from this is why we do these case studies, not just for Bob, our other program, or for Design Paradigm, but we do it internally also so that we can learn from all these jobs. I think doing a case study is a excellent process for you to go through and really outline everything. Plus, it gives you a hell of a thing to be able to, teach somebody new when you hire somebody new and that kind of thing. But I forget what I called it earlier, but sort of the earned, what was it, Liz? The earned, the earned price, that just kind of came to me, and I don't even remember how I phrased it, but that is, to me, is that earned value, that earned worth is something to focus on a lot more just, this magical thinking thing of, charging what you're worth. I challenge everybody to really think about what that means and to be able to really determine your value. And your value is determined by, your experience as well as your creative chops, because you can be creative as like crazy and be amazing in that. And we have hired people like that, but then couldn't, execute out of a paper bag. And that's kind of a problem, right? That's really a problem. So I think that's sort of the essence of this is to not be so quick to write somebody off, try to figure out a way to make it work and to make it profitable for you so that you can learn when it's something that you really want to do. I mean, don't work with turds, okay? But not just because somebody, would you quit laughing every time I say that? Just because somebody is...
I keep thinking of a particular client we've had recently. So
okay, well, whatever. Okay. We don't get very many of those. I mean, here's the thing, Liz deals with them. If we have to deal with them, Liz has to deal with them. And remind me to tell you about the time that she let loose on one and I caught it on the camera in our downstairs office, our shop security. I played it back over and over again. If you email me, then I will send it to you because I've got it somewhere. But it's really funny. But so I don't have to deal with that. But I think that the running to the red flag sort of thing or whatever without really thinking this through is not good. And then the other part of this is really thinking about and focusing on that value that you are bringing and determining that before you charge what you're worth. So maybe it's just the order of events here. You have to determine your value before you can, quote, charge what you are worth, because what is that worth? It has to be a value to somebody else. It has to be a quid pro quo where somebody else in the marketplace is going to exchange funds for that value that you bring. I mean, this is old as the hills, all right? This is basic business 101, all right? You have to be able to have that value. You have to be able to show that value, and you have to earn that value by doing the work, okay? And sometimes people just don't want to always do the work. Anything else to wrap it up, Liz, before I get into the damn good truth?
No, I think, again, it's all about that authenticity and really being more open-minded about how it is that you can cultivate something good for your business, because it is not always going to be all about the big fancy jobs. It just can't be.
No, it really isn't. And that's, that's okay, because that is what is going to get you to where you want to go. And I am a perfect case study for that, to see where I started, and I had no leg up. I do not have a formal education. I'll tell you that right up front. I have a formal education in fine arts, which I think informed my aesthetics and design. But I can tell you right now, there is nobody that is necessarily trained per se that can really run loops around me. Not unless it's commercial. We don't do a lot of that. So we stay away from that, because that's a whole different genre. But so it's not about the education of schooling, which is very important. I totally, I pay for people to be schooled. It's really important, all of that. But I'm talking about the education of experience. And that experience comes when you are accepting jobs that may not be ideal, because then you are problem solving more, you are having to deal with things, you are learning that maybe there's some things in your contract that aren't quite right, all of that. And that really is what is ultimately going to determine your value. Okay, so here is our damn good truth. You want to be successful? Then you want to learn how to really understand the elements of design, the execution, and the creative process first. Do what you need to do to gain valuable experience so you can build your portfolio and base of experience. Hey, if you can get paid in the learning process, you are a winner all day long. That is great. I love it. But gaining experience, practicing the art of design, and learning how to really operate a business is essential. At least that is my business recipe for success. Okay? Thank you guys for being here. We really appreciate it. We hope to see you next week. And leave us a review if you like what you hear. Check out Small Business Think Big. It's a free group on Facebook. We have a lot of fun there. It's a load of nonsense. And we would love to have you.
Until next time, stay bold, stay inspired, and keep embracing your bag girl spirit. If you've enjoyed today's show, Head over to join the community at damngooddesigner.com to continue the conversation and sign up for our newsletter.